Welcome to my knitting podcast. Today I'm sharing lots of new casts on and my colorful knitting plans and goals for 2026. From joyful sweaters to fun yarn picks, let's chat patterns, projects, and everything I'm excited to cast on. My name's Wendy and this is Wonky Moon Crafts. I have a lot to talk about today, so this episode doesn't run too long. We're going to kind of run through a few things quickly. So what I'm wearing today, I did talk about this in my Everything I Knit in 2025 video. So if you are curious for more details, please check that out. This is the Tessellated Pullover by Andrea Mowry. This size 3. I dyed the brown yarn and the fuzzy yarn. And then the color changing yarn is Spin Cycles, dyed in the wool, colorway Under the Waves. It's a mosaic color knitting project, and I like this sweater a lot. So yeah, if that's a pattern you're interested in, I definitely suggest you check it out. I do have a Ravelry page for this, so you can check that out for my project page. But yeah, Tessellated Pullover by Andrea Mowry. All right, so I do have a finished object today. I'll try to put up a picture of this. I did post it on my social media, which is Wonky Moon Crafts, at Wonky Moon Crafts on TikTok and Instagram if you're interested in checking that out. This is skirt number 1 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. This is my first finished project of 2026. I started it, it only took me a few weeks to do. I started it a little bit before Christmas. I've worn it once so far. I liked it. This is the yarn I used. It is Issachar Aran Tweed and Issachar Silk Mohair. The colors are light brown and 63. I don't know if you can tell here from the camera, but the mohair really helped warm up this brown a little bit because I did want a warmer brown, not too cool. So when I combined them, I think they came out really nicely. I'm not a huge, let's see if I can, you can see all these fun little speckles in it. I'm not a huge fan of this yarn. It's very rustic, but it's perfect for what I used it for the skirt because I feel like it'll really hold up to like the wear and tear of a skirt. So yeah, I like this project. I made the size, I think it was 4, and or the 4th size, whatever it was called. And there is a 2-inch elastic band in here. You do some shaping. I think my gauge was a little bit large, even though I went down a needle size, 2 needle sizes. My gauge was a little bit large. I did not make this as long as the pattern said to. However, it is as long as the pattern said. So I do definitely think my row gauge was a bit off on that. But yeah, I really like it. So that is the skirt number 1 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. All right, I have lots of cast-ons to show you. I talked about in some of my other podcasts and things, I went on a bit of a tear at the end of 2025, finishing up projects that I had on my needles and really just trying to get as many projects finished as I could that had maybe been lingering or just sitting in a whip pile. So I kind of then went on a bit of a cast on spree once that had happened. Also, I got a decent amount of yarn for as like Christmas presents and so on. So there was also that kind of helped. I just, me get excited about these projects. So this is the Forget Me Not by Florence Miller of Florence Handmade. This is the Forget Me Not pullover. And I used Sandus Garn Double Sunday. As you can see, I've got the yoke basically done. I've split for sleeves. I've only done like maybe a couple rows on these sleeves so far. Not many at all. The colors I use, let me grab my colors. So this is the main color, which is 2013. On the website, I got this from Wool & Co. Because I was kindly gifted a gift card to Wool & Co. for the holidays. So this is, on the website, this is called Pineapple. This is, I think, Petite Knits Pineapple. Then I also got this green color. I don't have the number for that handy because I don't have that label currently, but this is also a Sandus Garn Double Sunday in Matcha. That's what the website called it. Then I've got this, which is color 5012 in Perfect. And this last color is colorway 4672. And I think this one was called Blackberry Juice or Jam. This, the yellow and this dark purple were the reasons that I bought this yarn, and then I decided this pattern is what I'm looking at, and that is when I decided that this is what had to happen in my life, and that I needed to make something with these colors, and that is where I got to here. Now I will tell you, I did the black and white. When I first started it, I was very concerned about this light purple not being dark enough for the sweater, and I'm still on the fence about it. Definitely finishing the rest of the motif made me feel better about the purple. I did that black and white photo thing, if you've ever heard about that trick. If you haven't, what they suggest you do is take a picture of your yarns and then change it to black and white so you can see how much contrast there is between the different colors. And when I did that, there was not hardly any between the purple and the yellow. And you can, the light purple, that is the perfect color here, and the yellow. And you can see how it doesn't pop like the other colors, and that's because that like depth of shade is too similar. I think that's the right word you want to use, depth of shade. I don't know. Anyway, something like that. Hopefully you know what I mean. But I do like how it turned out. And I have blocked this. It was definitely wonkier. This, I have not done very much color work knitting at all, stranded color work knitting. And so I had to block it to kind of get it evened out a little bit. So I do think that's a little bit better. It's nice and squishy, 100% merino wool. This is my first time ever working with this yarn, and I definitely like it. I'm making the second size. Again, I think my tension is a little off because it seems a little bit closer to like the size 3, but that'll still work for me and it'll be fine. So that is the Forget Me Not pullover by Florence Miller of Florence Handmade. Okay, so next cast on. This is, I think I showed this yarn before, but I don't think I've shown this before. This is the, here, let me take this off. This is the Stick Season pullover by Crea Bea or Rebecca Clow. I am making this for my husband. He has pretty broad shoulders. So this is like the back panel. Now I know this will stretch when it's blocked out, but this is currently, like, just in this state, is nowhere near big enough. So what I did was I measured his, I had him pull out his favorite shirt, and then I measured that shirt. And I looked at those measurements, and then I looked at the measurements in the pattern for what size, that would kind of closest fit. And the size 6 is the size that it would fit. But then when I did the shoulder shaping and I held it up to him, and it was so like, I'm just mostly concerned about how broad his shoulders are and how like, just like his shoulder right here is really muscular and big, like his bones and structure, like shoulder structure here is just large. So I'm very concerned that I don't want this to be tight around his shoulders. He won't like that. So although the size 6, I think, is the chest measurement that he will need, I'm concerned that he needed a larger shoulders. So what I did was I wound up switching to the size 8 for this portion. And then I think what I'm gonna do is, so the next step is to start shaping under the arm for the back panel. And I think I might go back to the size 6 instructions for that so that the chest isn't too wide, and then just continue on from there in the size 6. I've kind of put this on hold because of that, because that part's all a little bit, I'm still trying to decide what I should do. So if you have any thoughts, if you've made this sweater for the male, particularly one with broad shoulders, I would love to know your tips and what you've done, even if it wasn't this sweater, any sweater, to try to accommodate that. That would be really helpful. My goal for this sweater is really just to have this completed for him by pretty much next fall. So once it starts getting cold, like late in fall and winter, he can almost wear this as like a hoodie or pullover type situation. It's like a light jacket almost, like I said, or like a hoodie. So I have plenty of time to finish this. So I kind of, like I said, I have set this aside for now. Yarn for this, I am using Scout by Kelborn Woolens. I love this yarn. I love the feel of this yarn. It is it's a DK weight. It Oh, I did go up a needle size too to hit gauge on this pattern, but it's 274 yards, 100% wool. This is 100 grams. This is colorway Graphite Heather 034. I pulled up the website and let my husband pick out whatever color he wanted. No surprise at all that he went with this gray color. So that is the Stick Season sweater by Creabea and Rebecca Clow. And like I said, my goal for this is to have it done by next fall. So I'll probably show it here and there as I make like some progress, but not every week or every podcast. All right, next cast on, and my current final cast on. This is the Juno Tee by Sari Nordland. And you may be saying, didn't you make a Juno Tee before? Yes, I did. I did make a Juno Tee before, and I have decided to make another one. I got it stuck in my head that I wanted a challenge for this knitting year. I really enjoyed making my champagne pullover last year and kind of doing that throughout most of the year. And that challenge for me, having not done lace before and not doing cables before and all that. So I wanted something similar for this year. Now, so I kind of have a few projects falling into this category. So this is one of them. I would like to finish this project by mid-June, ideally, July at the latest, by the end of June at the latest. And what I plan to do is modify this into a dress. So I've never made a dress before. I did just finish a skirt, as I showed you. So I've got a little bit of an idea of how that structure should go, and short rows and so on. So I get a little bit of that going on. And I'm really excited about this. Like, I got this idea in my head not long after I had finished my first Juno Tee, and I just loved it so much. And I just kept thinking about how I kept seeing these patterns for dresses and thinking how cute they were, but how they weren't really my style. They're very tank toppy, very um, kind of loose, and not a lot of, they were either really form fitting or not form fitting at all. And I'm kind of a somewhere in between person. So I wanted to I liked the idea of making a dress, and I loved this pattern. And I thought this t-shirt style, but a little bit elevated, as a dress would be a potentially good option. And I just loved this pattern. So that is what I'm doing. This is where I'm at so far. So for my first Juno Tee, I used the Magpie Fibers Equinox Sport. That is what I decided to use again since I already used it once. I know I like it, and I am using that again. This is linen and silk yarn, and this is what it looks like. The color I am using is Past the Duchy, I don't know, something like that. And yeah, so I'm hoping, so my hope right now is to have my short-term goal for this project is to have split 4 sleeves by mid-February. That being said, the Forget-Me-Not sweater, I would like to also have that completed by mid-February as well. So I'm hoping to kind of have those 2 projects in that place. I know this is going to take a lot of knitting, and because it is a smaller gauge, so I know this one's going to take me a while. But I am really excited about this. So, and I know once I get past the lacy portion of the sleeves, it's just going to be stockinette for forever. My plan for this, if you're curious, is to do a little bit of a fitted shaping to it. Not super fitted, but start at the top with a little bit fitted. So the one I made before was a size 3. And I know I've mentioned this a million times. I'm sick of mentioning it, but I just because I feel like you guys are. But I lost weight and I really wear more of a size 2 now, or small, where I was knitting everything basically at a 3 or a medium size. So I did go down to the size 2, so this is a little bit more fitted, which is what the pattern recommends, 0 to 2 inches of ease. So this, I think, will be a little bit closer to that. And then my plan is to, when I get down a little bit closer to my waist, to do a little bit of decreasing, and then to start increasing again for my hips, and then continue to increase for a little bit so I have a little bit more of a, it's not fitted around my legs or all the way down my hips, but it actually comes out a little bit, not a complete A-line, but just a little bit. And I'm tossing about maybe repeating a little bit of lace near the bottom of the dress, but we'll see how that goes. I have a long ways to go before I get that far along and plenty of time to decide on that. But for now, this is where I'm at, and I'm really excited about it. So that's the Juno Tee modifying into a dress project that I have going on. So again, this is another one that's going to be a kind of a long-term project. So I'm not sure how much progress I'll make regularly to like kind of keep showing this, but this will be working on the background, and I will make sure and show this whenever I've made enough progress that it would be maybe a little bit more interesting to see. So Juno Tee by Sari Nordlund, modifying into a dress. All right, so like I said, I did get some yarns and some things like that for Christmas, for presents and so on. So I do have a little bit of I've got a lot of plans for projects to make this year, and I actually already have a lot of the yarn for those projects kind of queued up, ready to go. So I thought I'd do a little bit of a rapid fire, what I have kind of planned for the coming year. Obviously, these plans could always change, but these are kind of my current plans based on the yarns and so on that I have. As like I said, I did kind of acquire a decent amount recently. One of these I actually already had, and I think I'd shown before, but I still haven't made it, so that's still on my queue for this year, so I thought I'd show that again. But yeah, all right, here we go. Here's what I got in my rapid fire. So this is one I've shown before. This is the Isager Tavini, Isager Soft Fine, and this is, that's both of these are the Tavini and then the Soft Fine. This yarn is 63% alpaca, 26% silk, 11% yak. This is color 100. This is color E6S. And then you hold those with these. And this is color 6S. And this is color, I don't have this one handy, but I'll put it on my project page once I start this. So, but it is literally the ones that are in the sample. I've never done that before, but I loved the look of the this kind of tan color and the navy blue in the sample that lacy loop or other loops had for this sweater, the lacy looped sweater. So that is what I just figured out exactly what those colors were, and that is what I got. So that is one project. That one I probably will hit either later spring or very, very late summer. So that I can, because I think with the lacy holes, it'll have a little bit of a transition to it. So that is that one. Next up, I got this yarn. I went to this is the Snefnug. I picked up this yarn actually yesterday. I have a little time off. I went to a new to me yarn store in Cleveland called River Color Studio. Great yarn store if you happen to be in Cleveland. It's around the Lakewood area. Definitely recommend you check it out. Very, very nice, good selections of yarn. And they also, it had a nice space to it. And it shares a building with a bakery slash coffee place that also has a good amount of space to it. So you can, plenty of tables, you can go in and sit down. So I went yarn shopping, then I went next door and I got some coffee and a baked good and did some knitting. So I am not 100% sure what I'm going to knit with this yet. It is super soft. It's one of those blown yarns with the chain net. So it's 55% baby alpaca, 35% organic cotton, and 10% fine merino wool. I'm 99% sure I'm going to make the 90s sweater by Alicia Plummer. So that is kind of what I'm thinking. I thought it'd be really nice to have a bigger gauged sweater as I have several smaller ones on the needles right now. So that is that 90s sweater. Next, and this is kind of a big one. So this is one of my bigger projects. This is Knitting for Olive Pure Silk in the colorway Pink Daisies. And this, I plan to make, I don't know if you can see this, it's kind of this really, it depends on the light. I think the silk kind of casts like makes it so like some lightings it looks a little darker or whatever than it does in other lights, which is actually similar to the Equinox Sport by Magpie Fibers, because I think, again, it has that silk. So sometimes it looks really emerald and sometimes it looks a little more grassy. I think this is kind of a similar with this. It looks a little more fluorescent and sometimes it looks a little bit more darker pink. But anyway, I plan to make the Seashore Blouse and Skirt by Kuka Kavika. Kuta, I cannot. I don't know why I'm just fail at that every time. But anyway, Veronica Lindbergh is the designer, and she has a skirt. Before it even released, I was obsessed with the skirt and the blouse pattern. So you have to hold 2 strands of this together. This is the yarn she recommends. I wanted to go ahead and just get the yarn recommended. I've heard good things about this. I wanted to try out Knitting for Olive. And yes, this is the pure silk, but I've heard good things about it. So I thought I'd give that a shot. As you may or may not have figured out, I don't do a lot of neutrals. So I had to find a color that I hadn't already was knitting a lot of things with and that I thought would work for me. I tend to stick with jewel tones and colors like that. I think they work a little bit better for me and they fit my personality. Hopefully you agree. Either way, I think it's a fun color and I'm excited to make this. So that is one of my projects. So obviously this being really lacy and summery and all of those things, I would really like to have this also done by like late June at the latest. Here in Ohio, it's not warm very long, especially not warm enough to wear something lacy like this would be. So it's really just like July, August, maybe till the end of September that I would be able to really wear this. But I probably have until July before, or late June at least, until it gets warm enough that I could wear this. So that is what I plan to make for the Seashore Blouse and Seashore Skirt by Veronica Lindbergh. Next, I was very kindly gifted this lovely box. And I thought I wanted to show you the box because I thought it was really nice. Um, I was sent this for Christmas, and the person that sent it to me ordered the pattern and the yarn for this, the little kit from Pearl Soho, and it came in that nice little, like, she just had them send it to me as a gift. So it like came in this nice little pink box. It came with a little tag on it with a little message from, the person who gifted it to me and everything. Like they had put it on there and put it all together. It was really cute. So if you're looking to buy something for somebody, another yarny person in your life, I highly recommend, because it was so cute and adorable, and it was so thoughtful. I was beyond ecstatic when I saw it. Um, and yeah, so highly recommend that. This is, so the pattern is the Easiest Pie pullover. The yarn is Partridge Superwash, 100% superwash wool. Again, by Pearl Soho. It's very soft. It has like I don't know if you can see, it's like whatever that's called, where it's like one ply basically. And this is color Lilac Morning. 109 yards for 100 grams. So, and it's fairly chunky. So I am excited to make this sweater. The sweater actually seems to be like you make the front panel and the back panel, and then you seam them together, and then you do the sleeves in the round. I've never made something like that before, so I think that could be really interesting. I'm very excited about this. So yeah, that is the Easy as Pie pullover from, let's see, it says it's by Jojo Tricot for Pearl Soho. Sorry, reading the pattern on the paper. But yeah, Easy as Pie pullover. Next up, and last sweater I've got going on at the moment is, this is the yarn, which I know is like a crazy floppy mess, but it is, this is how it comes when you buy like a bulk thing of undyed yarn. I bought, this is 10 skeins of Angel DK from Wool to Die For. It is 70% baby alpaca, 20% silk, 10% cashmere. It is DK weight, 246 yards, 100 grams skeins. And this yarn is squishy, lovely, amazing, and beautiful. So I've been waiting, kind of looking for a project, something kind of maybe slightly elevated, something um, something that I would feel fancy when I would have this fancy, luxurious yarn on me that I would just love and feel wonderful in. So I decided to do the Rosie Sweater. Now, I talked recently about wanting to do a dye some yarn, and I was between patterns, the Forget Me Not pullover and the Rosie Sweater and another sweater. And obviously, when I saw that those yarn colors, that yellow and purple for the Get Me Not, and I've been wanting to try the Double Sunday by Santa's Garn, that just went that way. I'd already earmarked this yarn. I've had it for over a year, but I earmarked this. Once I decided I probably wanted to make the Rosie Sweater, I kind of earmarked this for that, because I felt like the pattern in this yarn just seemed kind of like the right match to me in terms of what I was, that kind of style matching the yarn content. Now, that pattern does say in all ways to hold a fingering weight and a lace weight together. Whereas this is just DK, so I'm not holding this with anything. This is what I'm going to knit with. It does have, let me see if I can hold it up a little bit and you can see. It doesn't have, it has a tiny bit of a halo from the alpaca and the cashmere. It's so soft and pretty. So I plan to dye this up. I am currently between a couple different colors. Again, if you follow me on social media, you would have seen that I posted about 3 different kind of options I'm looking at for colorways. If you don't follow me, please, and you want to see those, feel free to check me out on at Wonky Moon Crafts. I'm not going to go over those now just because, again, I'm trying to keep this as simple and quick as possible. So that is my plans for that, to make the Rosie sweater. At this point, I have no idea. That might just be a later, like next fall, late summer, fall time project at this point. Although I do plan to dye the yarn sooner than that. So, but we'll see. Again, there's a lot here. So, sorry, my book is about to fall off the table. So there's a lot of different projects here and a lot for me to work through. That's kind of everything I have going on right now. I will say that there's a couple other things I've got that I want to try to fit in. So I also have on the way that I think is supposed to show up tomorrow. I got some yarn from Hedgehog Fibers in the colorway Lazy Days. And I got the fingering weight yarn. I forget exactly which base it was called. It might have been the sock base, or it might have just been called fingering weight, something like that. But anyway, I got that in the Lazy Days. So I making the Eva cardigan, and which, by the way, I did do the button band the other day. I just have sleeves left now. But I was working on that, and I had originally wanted the Lazy Days colorway in the mohair or Surrey to hold with undyed yarn to make that project. And I wasn't able to get the mohair / Surrey. So I got a different colorway. And although I'm very happy with that and how it's looking, I am like keep going back to looking at that Lazy Days colorway. And I just really wanted it. So I I just had, you know, a little bit of extra come in for me so that I was able to spend on some yarn, and thought, you know what? I keep looking at this. It's completely a splurge. Let's just get this yarn and I will figure it out from there. So my thought is that, I will probably hold it with a Surrey. I have some undyed Surrey that I have enough to hold it with the fingering weight to make up a DK weight and make a sweater with that. I'm probably just going to use some sort of plain pattern. I've made a Monday sweater by Petite Knit before. I might make that. But that's one thing I have kind of planned for another project that's coming up. I have yarn for the Hey Sailor that I got back in November at the Alabama Fiber Festival, and so that I would like to do. I have some other yarn in stash that are some summer yarns I kind of got late summer last year, so I could make some tank tops and different things like that. I would potentially like to do that. I would like to also make some socks. I have a couple sock colorways, and I'd also like to make some hats and mittens. I have my first knitted project I ever made was a hat, and it is the only hat that I have made for myself, that I have knit for myself. And although I love that hat, I would like another ones, but I always struggle with hats because I think because I have, you can probably tell with my bangs, but I have a very small forehead. I think that's what it is. I think it's because I have a small forehead that hats, if I make a hat to pattern, or I just buy like a knit hat, it will always be too long on me. It'll come down over my eyes. So like there's just not enough here. Widthwise is fine. It's like this way. There's not enough head. So I always have to wind up modifying, and sometimes that works out, sometimes it doesn't. And when I say this, I should specify that I've crocheted myself hats before. I've only knit myself the one hat, but I've crocheted myself hats before. I did try to knit myself another hat and it didn't work out. I wasn't able to wear that hat. So I would like to knit myself another hat. I have also made 2 of my very first projects were fingerless mittens, and I have not made any since then, and I love them. I wear them constantly. So I'd like to make myself some more fingerless mittens. I live in the snow belt of Ohio, so mittens and hats would be well used for me, especially because I like to go next door to the park and go walk around all the time. So I need warm accessories. So I'd like to make more of those. I'd also, like I said, like to figure out socks and make some socks. So I do have some accessories I'd like to make. My problem is I prioritize sweaters always over accessories, so I'm not really sure if I'll get to those, but I would like to do that in theory. But yeah, so anyway, those are some of my plans for this coming year. We'll see if I get to them all or not. I would like to finish the couple projects I have on the needles still that I wasn't able to finish up at the end of last year. But again, yeah, I have a lot to make. So I don't know how we're going to do on this, but we're going to do our best. And I feel confident that no matter what, I'm going to, enjoy the process. And I have some really great yarn here. So I'm really excited for what is going to get made. If, or what inspiration might strike tomorrow. We'll never know. We'll just see then. Do you have a lot of cast on? Do you tend to cast on a lot right around the beginning of the year? It seems kind of like a little bit of a thing, like, you make your New Year's goals and resolutions and like casting on, and it seems like a little bit of a, I'm part of that group where I hear people talk about like, oh, like cast on for your birthday, cast on for Christmas, cast on for New Year's. And I'm here for it. So, and I already don't, I'll use any excuse possible to cast out a new project. I just love that part of this whole process. It's usually the finishing it that I have a hard time because by then I'm less as enthusiastic about it, but I'm getting better. So do you do that? Do you cast on? Do you get excited and have these kind of cast on bursts? Do you have a lot of whips on the needles right now, or a lot of big plans for 2026? I'd love to hear about it. If you want to let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for being here, joining me today while I talk through what I've got on the needles and what my plans are. I hope you saw some things that you thought were interesting, and I'm excited to get these going and see how this goes and share that with you. So I hope you had a great day and that you're staying warm if you're in any of the cold areas, which I think pretty much, most people are at this point. If you're not in a cold area though, good for you. Enjoy that. And again, stay warm, stay safe, and enjoy yourself. Thanks. Bye.